Hello, and welcome to episode 31 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. 31. I don't know, that seems like a big number. That one, it's like when you have that one birthday that makes you feel kind of old, but like that one the first one you have that actually means something. For me, it was 24. I mean, I guess you haven't had that yet, but
Why 24? What's so special about 24?
I have no idea. I didn't feel a day older until 24. And then 24 hit, and I was like, damn. And then 25 hit, and I was like, damn. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's the voice of my co-host Aiden Sarah. How are we doing, fella? What's going on?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what birthday that was for me. Like it kind of was 18, 19, and 20 for different reasons. Like 20's weird. It's weird to be 2 decades old. That's a strange one.
Well, I think the reason with 24 is like there's no real significance to any birthday after 21 until you're like 30.
Hmm.
And like you can, as a sports nerd, you can be like, oh, 23 Jordan year, that one's something, and you can like give yourself some fake significance maybe. And then there's also that like Blink 182 song that says no one likes you when you're 23. So 23 still has significance to it. No one cares if you're 24.
Yeah. The thing that I found is like having the job I have, or I guess that like the job I had at the start of last hockey season, I would have been 19. And people's reactions when I would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm 19," and when I tell them I'm 20, like they when I say that I'm 19, their facial expression, like it's almost like I told them that I have this job as a 12-year-old. And then at 20, they just kind of accept it like I'm an adult. It's kind of a strange juxtaposition of explaining that to people. That's the only really thing that I've noticed be different. In terms of just how I am in general, James. It's
Aren't you're 21?
I'm 20. I'm turning 21 in December.
Okay, we'll talk about this further when you're 24 and we no, actually we'll reassess when you're 23. That's what we'll do.
Okay. Okay. No,
We're
that
we're we're talking about a future that's longer than we've known each other, but
24, yes. 23. It's been about 3 years. So um yeah, like I don't know. It's been a very weird month here. I'm taking it one day at a time, which is
uh define weird in listeners' terms.
to find weird in listeners' terms. I don't know. It's kind of the like it's that feeling of you ever feel excited about it's really hard to explain because it's a parallel feeling of excitement and like a looming negativity. Okay.
Okay.
It's a strange feeling. I think a big part of it is last year I was kind of living um splitting up the splitting up like the time between visits back home, and the only two visits back home will be a quick weekend for Thanksgiving and then a couple weeks at Christmas in the next little while. So that might be part of it, is just the like, oh, I still have almost a month before I come home. And then after that, it's going to be another 7 weeks. Like that results in a pit in the stomach. And if anybody listening has moved away from like home significantly, I know they'll know what I'm talking about, but it's hard to really explain it if somebody hasn't gone through that. And James,
I
like
know.
I know you probably will have a little bit of a feeling of it because your move wasn't as far, but it's almost as inconvenient to get to and from Port Alberni as it is from Red Deer to Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean like the quick flight's kind of nice for you. But at the yeah, I kind of know what you mean because this is the year at my current job where I am volunteering to work Christmas. I have decided that. And also I get off work at 11 p.m. on Fridays and then I work again Monday afternoon. So if I do want to go visit my family, it's like wake up first ferry Saturday, no sleep, and then 36 hours to squeeze in dad, grandparents, aunt and uncle, all of my friends. So it's not really possible, but I try. I do my best to make it work. And honestly, I have a damn good time when I do it. I do just come back feeling significantly more exhausted than when I left work. So yeah, I know what you mean. And honestly, I can't even really talk because at your age, I had yet to fly the coop, or I guess I was just about to. Um, but yeah, and then both years we were at BCIT, I went back and lived with my grandparents and sat by the lake with them the entire summer.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing that didn't happen to us is, like most of the time the disconnect, or to us, I shouldn't say to us because you and were in vastly different situations, but like the stereotypical end point of the, the high school friends and the just that lifestyle is when you graduate and then you go off to post secondary. Well, James, like I graduated high school, I started BCIT that fall, and I started from my bedroom and my desk in my house, right? And every time we logged off Zoom, when the COVID restrictions permitted it, I'd have all my friends over almost on a nightly basis, right? Like there was the first original news story we did in first year, I finished it as my friends were starting to drink around me at an Airbnb in a Soyuz. Like that was that was my first year of university. So it was it was moving. That was like the culture shock of the Jesus Christ. This is this is being an adult, and I'm not a fan of it. And like the having the flexibility to go home last year was nice, and the
Aiden, your right now is my first year because my first year I moved over there. We had classes online only, and I was living there with just my one friend, and I knew no one else.
yeah, no, that's a pretty parallel situation.
And the ages are more similar too, because
Yeah,
I was freshly 22. You're about to be 21,
yeah,
so it actually does kind of parallel a bit.
yeah. Let's get
I feel like listeners probably like enjoyed that little banter about our lives and our mild ups and downs that are mildly trivial but also pretty common for the average human being, especially in our formative years here. But yeah, we have a monumental amount of hockey news to dial into. You wanna get into this?
Yeah, well, I mean, so James and I are gonna have a talk off the podcast about not letting it be 3 weeks in between episodes here. But
This is more my fault than Aiden's, just to be clear.
I wasn't gonna say that, but because I didn't want to throw you under the bus. But yeah. So on the last one, we recorded and then Austin Matthews signed his extension. So James had a little like news insert at the beginning saying, "Hey, Austin Matthews signed his extension." Um, there's not a lot to say about this aside from like good job Toronto for getting this done because this needed to happen. You could not like it was not a possibility in my head. You could not let him walk in free agency. That is such a terrible look for the franchise. That's so detrimental to the team. So you either needed to sign him or trade him. And obviously they would have preferred to sign him, and they did. So good for Toronto. Austin Matthews gets his bag, and I think the Leafs this year are in the best spot they're gonna be to get out of the second round. That's my opinion.
Also, they got him without paying him $17 million,
Yeah, he is the highest paid player in the league, which like,
but
but
not by much.
not by much, and the cap's going up in the next 2 years. I think I heard somebody report that the estimate is that it will be $9 million more 2 years from now in two separate increments, like a 4 and a 5 increase or something if everything goes
Which
as
is awesome.
yeah. So all of a sudden, like something like, and this, I guess this is a cool, good segue into the second thing we can talk about. I know it's not second on our list here, but I can quickly make it second on our list. Jake Sanderson gets an 8x8, and Ottawa, I think, has done a really good job with these kinds of contracts. You saw it with Tim Stutzla, like Stutzla's contract at the time. You're looking at it, you're like, what did he do to earn this so far? The answer was really nothing except show the potential, and then he broke out last year. Well, with the cap going up $9 million, Stutzla's AAV, which I think is just under 8, is going to look like a bargain. And Jake Sanderson, I think, is going to be in the same boat where if he turns into that number one defenseman that he showed flashes of, and then we get a $10 million increase in the cap, say in the next 3 years, all of a sudden that Jake Sanderson number looks really good. What did you think about the Sanderson deal? Because Ottawa now locks up Chabot, Chychrun, and Sanderson as their top three, which I think is really impressive.
Well, I thought Shabbat was kind of expensive when they did it, and they were banking on the cap going up at the time, and it didn't. And then I think the Sanderson one, mildly expensive at the time, but we've seen deals like this massively successful around the NHL. And also the development that he made start of last season to end of last season, that's nothing to shake a stick at. Like that is very, very good. He's a really solid player, and I do worry about the role in the runway as they have Jacob Chychrun and Thomas Chabot, but he could end up being the best defenseman there. Like that is a thing.
Well, and it's the age thing too, right? Like he's
Yeah.
4 years younger than Chychrun and 5 years younger than Chabot, and he's more close in age with their other up and coming superstars like Norris and Stutzla and Batherson than Chabot is, right? You kind of have Chabot on the older end of that young core, and then Sanderson on the younger end, and then everybody else is kind of sprinkled in between in terms of ages. Um, I know we've kind of been saying this year by year. I don't think this is Ottawa's year to make the playoffs. That's kind of why I made the comment about this kind of being Toronto's best chance, because I think, like we've talked about it on this podcast before, I think Ottawa, Buffalo, Montreal, Detroit all come in the next 2 to 3 years. I think Ottawa and Buffalo are at the front of that pack, and Sanderson's development is kind of just a good representation of how good the Senators team is becoming.
Totally, totally. And I am a massive Brady Kachuk fan. I still have nightmares about trading him away and then trading his brother away in fantasy within the same 12 months. Yeah, that was nightmare fuel and very poor mismanagement. I could give myself worst GM of the year. But yeah, I like Ottawa and I like Buffalo. Honestly, I feel like I'm gonna over the next decade, I feel like I'm gonna watch a lot more Eastern games again. It'll kind of mirror what it was for me like 5, 6 years ago, where it was just like a lot of these games are must-watch hockey. And yeah, I mean, kudos to him for getting paid. And with the cap going up like this, if he's gonna keep on this development track, kudos to management. I think moving on, we have some Mike Babcock stuff. Is that the only way you can really put it is Mike Babcock stuff?
Well, I guess this is a
Like, is it
weird one.
controversy or is it stuff? Is this status quo?
No, this is controversy. This is, if it was stuff, it would, no, yeah, this is, this goes beyond stuff. Look, like, this was always going to be under the microscope, this Mike Babcock to Columbus transition. This was always going to be more heavily scrutinized. And I'm sorry, I don't really think we should be surprised that we've heard a story already and it's only September 16th by the time you're listening to this. Um, but if you don't know, and James, you can kind of fill in the gaps. I'm going to kind of give a Cole's notes. There was something out of the Columbus Blue Jackets where, in the process of Mike Babcock's greeting and getting to know the players, he requested that they turn over their cell phones to him and he go through the photos and go through their camera roll on their phones as a way to get to know the players. Um, Boone Jenner, Mike Babcock, Johnny Gaudreau, and the Columbus Blue Jackets have all said. I should mention, by the way, this was reported on Spit and Chicklets by Paul Bissonnette, who said a player had texted this story to him. So
And
we,
also later said in a further X, the platform formerly known as Twitter post, that sorry, that's the way I have to write it now, so that's a thing. Yeah, he said there were multiple confirmations.
yes, well, and Johnny Gaudreau and Boone Jenner. Gaudreau did an interview with Friedman and Merrick. Jenner released a written statement as captain. They both kind of said as much that, like, yeah, he wanted to see our pictures, but Johnny Gaudreau on the interview basically said he was like, he just wanted to see pictures of our family. Like I've never had a coach do that, and I thought it was kind of cool that he wanted to get to know the players by getting to know the family. Now the version that we heard from Jenner and Gaudreau, and then the version that we heard from Bissonnette had one, and this is my opinion, had one very, very, very major difference and important difference. And that is in Gaudreau, Jenner, and the Columbus Blue Jackets version of events, it was a, hey, show me your pictures. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your family. I want to get to know your dog. I want to get to know your baby. I want to get to know X, Y, and Z, right? I want to get to know what you do in the summer. I want to see your boating pictures with your buddies. I want to see what you do on your vacations. And then in Bissonnette's version of events, it was the phone was connected to a screen and broadcast to the team in the dressing room and like gone through in that way. And I actually think those two versions, and you can jump in whenever, James, in my opinion, that's a very key difference, because I think one is a at least semi okay ask of a coach to a player, and that is the, hey, can I see your photos? I want to kind of, to me, this is an insight into who you are. I'm not super uncomfortable with that. I think that's okay. It's a little strange, and maybe it would take me a little aback, but I wouldn't be upset by it. However, if on the spot I was told I had to hook it up and show the whole team what was in there as my head coach went through it in front of everybody, that's to me when it crosses the line. So you can jump in and give
even so, I think the middle ground crossing the line, where, okay, so some veteran players who are in your leadership core going in with the coach and the video coach, because the video coach is an important part of this, that the video coach is in the room and this guy is now familiar with all your stuff. This is not a personal relationship with just you and Babcock. The video coach is involved in the scenario. With that part weirds me out a bit. If it's just the Barry Trotz thing where he sits down, has breakfast with you, and asks you about your family and forms a relationship that way, for sure. And then maybe, who knows, maybe the Barry Trotz thing includes, yeah, you want to show me a picture of your family? What's your dog like? And then the player has the opportunity to say, no, it's not, put your phone on the table. Let's see what this is about.
Yeah, that was the other thing, was it kind of, it didn't seem like it was a request. It seemed like it was a do this.
Let's see this.
Yeah. Which, yeah.
And then is this just the leadership core, or is this, all right, Adam Fantilli, what's your stuff about? Let's see. And this kid's 18. No doubt he has some heinous memes with him and his buddies send back and forth on his phone. No doubt. No doubt. The memes me and my friends were sending when we were 18, pretty brutal. And those are memes. Memes are not something we created. But even if a coach sees that, never mind, a coach, Mike Babcock is in his 50s, correct? Maybe even bridging on 60. I'm not familiar with Mike Babcock's age. He's definitely in that range, though. And he's not going to look at these memes and go, huh, that's funny. He's going to go, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, that's a big thing. And then on top of that, the comfortability factor. Even if your phone is not full of stuff that could be considered suspect, could be considered not cool to a coach, even could be considered like not that big of a deal, but a coach just doesn't like it from his own perspective, that tarnishes a relationship in my eyes. I feel like there's a level of respect and privacy where if you feel that you need to bring something to the table to tell this coach, this leadership person in your life for a very core part of your life, especially a developmental part of your life, and you don't have a choice, bringing something forward because you feel it's something you need to talk about. This is present in my life. That's one thing. And I really appreciate and respect when you can bring something personal in your life to someone who you look up to, someone you respect, someone you feel you're learning from. That's really important. And I understand that because I've been in that position before, for sure. But not this. If it is that, and this is a demand that you put your phone on the table and let's sit down on some chairs. And I'm actually spinning my chair right now and looking at my window, and the screen's right there, and it's you, Babcock, and the video coach, let alone other people in the organization or on your team. And you have to project. All right, let's go through this. Let's go through what my life's about. maybe even if there's not an issue, maybe you're not that kind of person who's comfortable sharing your life.
Yeah,
And then my last note, NHL and NHLPA meeting today to discuss the investigation on this.
yeah. So over the weekend, you'll hear more. That's kind of, yeah. I think we're good to wrap it on there. I will say, yeah, like I'm sure everybody has. I've been in both boats of having the person, whether it be a supervisor at a job or a teacher or anybody, a coach, right? I've been in both boats where I've had that person be a supportive figure who I could go to with any issues or any concerns, and I felt cared for. And then I've had that person be negative, and I felt that they didn't they didn't have my best interests at heart. And I can tell you right now that just the stress and anxiety of needing to on a daily basis face something where you're the person above you feel like doesn't have your best interests at heart, and you feel you need to hide pieces of yourself from them, right? Like that's not a comfortable situation to be in. And it's not a fun it's not a fun way to have to live your life, especially in the context of, well, if it's something like you're on a hockey team, you're seeing this guy every day, right? And this guy has much, much of your livelihood realistically is in this guy's hands. So it's, and at the end of the day, Mike Babcock has famously not really been one to concern himself too much with the emotional well-being of some of his players. But this is kind of what we're going to have to keep referencing, because Mike Babcock now has the reputation, and he has to toe the line.
Two final notes. I do want to give him, as I give most humans who aren't, like homicidal maniacs, the somewhat benefit of the doubt, because we also don't hear the good things. The bad outweighs the good in most media scenarios, because that's how it works. That is how those things work. And the other thing I want to note is what has been suggested is this is have been a practice of Babcock's before. Maybe his tenure with the Leafs, or late with the Red Wings, as having a deep camera role became a more prominent thing. Um, this isn't something that's new for him, is what's been suggested.
So we will swing, kind of we're staying in the dressing room, I guess, in a way. Couple new captains for Canadian teams. I'm going to start with Winnipeg. So again, this is James, to me, I love this, right? Your captain doesn't need to be your best player, doesn't need to be a superstar. It needs to be who's the best leader in that room. And Adam Lowry is the captain of the Winnipeg Jets. From every indication that, obviously we're not in the room, but this seems like the right choice, especially with some of the reports out of Winnipeg that the last couple of years, the superstars had not nurtured a very positive environment in that dressing room. That's the reality of the situation, is that that's what was happening in Winnipeg. That's what was being reported. So Adam Lowry, who's been through thick and thin, I think is a good choice. And every time you hear him talk to the media, it's hard not to picture that guy wearing the C. So the Jets get Lowry in that jersey with the C on his chest. What do you think of that?
Aiden, how good is it that this did not happen while Adam Lowry's dad was the head coach of the team?
He hasn't been the head coach for the team for a while, but
I know, but still, just think about that. Picture that scenario. If his dad's still head coach of the team and he's named captain, that's like, all right, I know you're a great guy, and I know you're a leader on this team and have been since you broke in, but come on here. But yes, I congrats to Adam Lowry, seemingly well deserved. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. I actually like it more when it's not the best player on the team, because it gives voice to some of the depth guys. And I feel like a lot of the time in that kind of scenario, you see depth guys go more heart and soul for a team. Like Boone Jenner, when he was named captain of the team, that team took on a little bit of a different identity in Columbus. And like you saw depth guys become so much more at the forefront. That became part of the Blue Jackets' identity, that they were hard to play against because of these depth guys. And yeah, I mean, Adam Lowry actually produces pretty strong too. Like he's a hell of a player. Like I will no doubt be keeping an eye on him in my deep fantasy league. That's a player I watch for sure.
well, and just parallel to our lives right now, I'll say my team just named their new captain, James. The Blackfalds Bulldogs, their second captain in franchise history, and fits the Adam Lowry profile, right? He was one of our bottom six forwards last year, by far and bar none of every team I've been around and everybody I've talked to. Like I've worked with 6 or 7 different groups of guys. This kid is about as captain material in the dressing room as anybody I've ever seen. He's not the best player on the team, but it doesn't matter, right? Like I think that's why, in my opinion, like when I hear a bunch of captaincy choices getting critiqued by fans for something that isn't like, like for instance, when John Tavares was named captain, Austin Matthews had just come off a story where he was caught sexually harassing a female security guard in Arizona. Like that was weeks old. So if Matthews had been named captain, I can get that criticism, right? That's a bad look. But when I hear criticisms of captaincies where it's, like, oh, it doesn't seem like this. Oh, maybe it should have been this guy. It's like, you have no idea what goes on in that dressing room, right? Anyways, before we go to Vancouver's, congratulations, Cody Willock, if you're listening, captain of the Blackfalds Bulldogs. And what I said about the criticism of the captains, I think can extend to the Vancouver Canucks because they named Quinn Hughes as the 15th captain in franchise history. Again, like I would have guessed it was Pettersson. But at the end of the day, we're not in that room. The postseason media availability, the interviews Quinn Hughes gave, it sounded like that was a captain talking, right? It did. So as much as, yeah, I guessed wrong, but again, we're not in that room. We don't know. What do you think about Quinn?
Yeah, for sure. He definitely spoke to the media like it was something it was a responsibility he was ready for. His comments say nothing to think otherwise. And on the note that it's not Pettersson, you look at a lot of leadership groups around the NHL, and just because the C's not on your chest doesn't mean you're not a leader on the team in more ways than one. And there's a lot of guys who wear an A or don't even have an A that are huge leaders on their team. And I have no doubt that, Vancouver's leadership group, even with Quinn Hughes as captain, will continue to be at least partly a leadership by committee thing. And I think that's something fans in Vancouver should really look forward to. I think leadership by committee is huge. Not just having the one guy representing you. That's another thing to say about not having your biggest star as your captain. It's it makes it so a lot of guys are spoken to. I think if you look around the NHL the past decade, maybe just even in your hockey watching life, when the biggest star on the team is also captain, I feel like other players might not get as much media attention because you want to talk to the captain, you want to talk to the guy who is the best player in the game at the end of the night, the first star. You want everyone who wants to get a little bit of dabbling in media to get in there. So I like the choice for sure. I have nothing against it.
So we'll move on to maybe something we should have done right after Sanderson, but another young defenseman, Evan Bouchard, signs a 2-year contract, paying him 3.9 a year. This is interesting. This is a huge bet on himself deal. And I think it was the right choice for Bouchard. What do you think about this?
How much is his AAV going to be in 2 years? That's all I want to know. Is it like 8? Is it 9? The cap's going up. Is it 10?
I think that's why he signs this deal, right? Because
Yeah.
Evan Bouchard has been very good for the Oilers in the last 2 years, but he's also been kind of all over the place at times as well, right? Like
River boat gambler.
Yeah, it's the Mikhail Sergachev factor of like, like
right-handed
yeah,
Canadian Sergachev.
yeah, he'll go 5 games where it's like this guy is gonna be in the top 4 of Team Canada at the next best on best tournament. And then he'll play back-to-back games where every single one of his shots hits a shin pad and none of his breakout passes connect. And there's 4 2-on-1s a game when he's on the ice and he's not the guy back, right? Like it's that has happened for Evan Bouchard. And you know what? To his credit, it's 5 good games and then 1 bad game, but he hasn't been consistent enough, in my opinion, to get that 8x8. That's what I would have said. Now,
and young guy by the old NHL standards, that's expected. It
yes,
used to be the thing that a defenseman wasn't truly ready for a consistent top four role where you were relied on every night to be good every night until you were like 24, 25. And now it's expected that they're just amazing at everything by like 21.
Well, and the other thing I will say about Bouchard is he keeps getting better, right? So again, if that development path and that path of improvement continues to trend upwards for him, you're going to see him. You're going to see him in 2 years when this contract expires. Like you said, if he has another year better than last, and then another year better than the one before, yeah, he's going to get an $8 million deal. And I think for the Edmonton Oilers, I think there's positives on both sides of this deal for both the player and the team. And I think for Edmonton, who still still have that looming, like, the best forwards in the league with just sometimes crazily inconsistent, terrible defensive play. I think getting a guy you believe in under contract is going to be a good thing. And you know what? Here's the other thing too. If they really believe in this guy, they sign him to 2 years and then they sign him to 8. That's longer than if you just sign him to an 8 right now, right? You're getting your team's future locked in. You can have that guy on your right side for as long as McDavid and Draisaitl are there too.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome for both sides. I think next up we have Morgan Frost, and this is a fun one too. I think what did he sign for? Was it 2.2 per year or 2.1 for 2 years?
It was a 2-year deal at 2.1. So he'll still be an RFA, which at 26, that's it's a good thing for the Flyers. Yeah, that's a key point for everybody involved. So he'll still be a restricted free agent. I was really high on this guy out of junior. And,
weren't we all?
Pardon?
Weren't we all?
I think so. Well, and again, this is Morgan Frost is a good example. Like Barrett Hayton's going to fall into this category. James, this always happens. And I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm going to pick on one player. I'm seeing a lot of people right now completely count out Shane Wright. And I don't get it whatsoever. I don't like it. I think it's incredibly, incredibly stupid. Like Morgan Frost was a first-round pick. I get it. He wasn't 4th overall, but he was a first-round pick in 2017. Okay, it took him 5 years to get to 19 goals, 46 points in 81 games, and a top 6 center on the Philadelphia Flyers. And I think he's only going to get better from here. And I think for everybody that is, either, it's Shane Wright or it's Alexi Lafreniere or it's Juraj Slafkovsky. There's a lot of guys right now that I could throw into that category of people are so jumping to conclusions to write these young guys off as busts. Joe Thornton in his first NHL season, I could count his points on 2 hands, right? He was a first overall pick. And this is a little rant I've gone on that completely I did not plan to go on, but I just, again, this morning saw a bunch of anti-Shane Wright rhetoric. But Morgan Frost, for me, again, it's a guy that, was he ready as a 19-year-old to step in, make a huge impact? No. But at 24, I want him as a top 6 center on my team without a doubt. He had a really good year last year. He put up 46 points in the Flyers, and I know that's not a lot, but Philly was bad last year. Philadelphia was bad. And him, Tippett, Konechny, Farabee, Forster, that's not a bad little group to move forward with while you're waiting for Matvei Michkov.
I just realized something. When I woke up at 10 a.m. and then fell back asleep after just grabbing some water and going back to sleep, I had a dream that Tyson Forrester was just traded to the Blackhawks for a couple draft picks, and I thought it actually happened. I dreamt a trade that I believed happened.
Now watch that happen tomorrow or something.
That would be mind-boggling, and I would start trying to predict things.
That's crazy.
I just started thinking, why is that not in our rundown? That's an important trade.
My God.
The hockey nerd never stops. Never stops. Even keeps screaming about it.
Well, if I'm busy, if I'm at work, just in the office, I'll look at Puck Doku in the morning, and I'll kind of almost take a little mental picture of it, and then throughout the day I have players pop into my head for it. It's just, and then I'll just do it later. It's yeah. So Frost re-ups, and I think it's a good deal for both sides. I think Philly gets a guy for a couple more years that I think will take a couple more steps, and then you'll get him a longer term deal by some UFA years. I think he'll be a good second line center. I think he could play well with Matvei Michkov. Honestly, like this could be really good for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Next thing up is one thing that you're very excited about. Take it away, Aiden.
I had to look to see what it was. Yeah, one of my favorite players of all time gets to go play for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tyler Mott, 1 year, $800,000. It's the annual. I'm upset to see Tyler Mott sign just because if he was going to sign for $800,000, why couldn't Vancouver have given him $800,000? That's what I always think. But he's been an effective player everywhere he's gone. In Vancouver, he was the perfect fourth line center, fourth line winger. He's an awesome penalty killer. He went to the Rangers, played a full season. Sorry, he went to the Rangers at the end of his last season with the Canucks. Then he signed in Ottawa at the beginning of last year. Then he was traded back to the Rangers. His finish in New York last year was really, really good for a fourth liner, 10 points in 24 games. What are the odds that we see him get traded back to the Rangers from Tampa? That's what I want to know.
Very, very slim. Tampa doesn't trade away depth players.
And especially
that are getting paid so little and that contribute so much for their dollar value. Nah.
Yeah. Well, and if Mott was going to get traded, it would be off a non-playoff team to a playoff team. So if Tampa is inexplicably missing this year, then I could see it happening. But if not, then no, you're right.
And also, I think he was a Gerard Gallant pick. I think he went to management in New York and said, "Hey, get me this guy."
Yeah, I could see that too. Well, and no, I really like this guy. Like I have his jersey hanging up in the office upstairs. Like he's again, we talk about depth players that could be captains. From every indication, that could be Tyler Mott, right? And I'm not saying he's gonna wear a letter in Tampa on that stack team where established guys already having him, but you know, he's a great person, great player, and it's good to see him land in a good spot.
Totally. And Colorado, your guy signed, and then my team signed a guy. I kind of want to say it in the Mark Wahlberg tone. Thomas the Tuna Tata.
I like it.
Yeah. I think he's a perfect third line addition, and he can step up in the lineup when needed.
That's what I was gonna say. This is a guy who has scored 20 goals at least 5 times. I think more than that, and he was flirting with 50 points last year. You get him for $1.5 million. I get he's 32 years old, but this is such a low risk, high reward signing for me. I think this is perfect. I love it for Colorado. Like, and you know, like the Avs, unfortunately, they've had injury troubles the last few years. So having a Tatar that can play easily on either power play unit, and you know, he very, very easily could step in with McKinnon and Rantanen, right? Like this is a talented player who's established and is very good offensively. Why not?
Yeah, I think like more than likely he'll either line up with one of Ryan Johansson or Ross Colton to start the year. And as an Avalanche fan, it's just wild looking at how much that team's forward core has changed over the past 2 years. Like you bring in guys like Drouin, Johansson, Ross Colton, now Tatar, like Nikolai Kovalenko coming in at the end of the year, which I am over the moon for. Like my words of excitement I had to hold back because some of them are not safe for work. I will no doubt be buying this guy's jersey, even if he somehow flops. I'm that excited for the dude. But yeah, I think like it's gonna be a lot of fun seeing how this group clicks together. I have no doubt it's gonna take some time. I don't know about you, but like some of my friends are looking at their future bets now for betting who's going to be a cup champ, blah, 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 blah. My strategy always is to wait for Colorado because within the first 20 games of the year, there's always a chunk of time where they're figuring it out or there's some injuries and they drop down and you get way better odds. So I wait for that. Personally, I mean, I know we don't have this on our rundown, but my future bets are Colorado and Carolina. I'm waiting for either team to flounder a little bit.
Which logically could and has happened to both of them in the regular season of late. So the PTO carousel has been turning as well. I'm going to just throw out a name, and I just want you to say yes or no to them on this team, okay? All right. Josh Bailey, PTO in Ottawa. Yes or no, Bailey on the Sens. What do you think?
Yes, fourth line leadership. Bang.
I agree with that. Zach Aston Reese to Carolina.
No doubt he fits their system perfectly. Yes.
I agree with that as well. Nick Ritchie to Carolina.
No, he's not going to make it.
I agree with that as well. I think Nick Ritchie has an NHL spot. I don't think it's on a team that good.
Why do I picture him on the Minnesota Wild?
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Oli Ulevi to Arizona.
Yeah, I think he could totally carve out a spot.
I think yes as well. The Coyotes have like a sneaky good forward core and a dumpster fire on defense. So I think as many defensive reinforcements as they could get, they should.
What you got against Sean Dursey and Juuso Valimaki?
Nothing. But when those are A, your only two defensemen, and B, those two who, well, not so much Valimaki, but Dursey, who is very, very good offensively and in transition. But when the Coyotes are hemmed into their own zone, he frequently will miss his assignment, or he'll frequently get beat down low, or he'll whatever, right? Like the Coyotes need help.
That's why they have John Chaika's analytics darling Victor Soderstrom.
Yes, who I guess we should follow our own guidelines and not write him off so quick, but I don't know if he's going to live up to that 12th overall ticket. Maxime Comtois to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Weirdly enough, they carve out a spot for depth power forwards. I think it could work if he can find a spot. If he can't find a spot, then like if everyone else plays up to their abilities, there's no chance.
Yes.
So I go maybe.
I'm going to go no, personally. Ryan Dzingel to Arizona.
I don't know what happened to that guy. I lean towards no, but there's no reason it should be yes. I mean, so there's no reason it shouldn't be yes.
Yeah, like he's a guy that one time 20 goal scorer kind of fell off a little bit. I'm going to go no just because he's really struggled in the last couple of years to to elevate his game, right? Like he had 20 some games in the AHL with Chicago Wolves last year, only scored 2 goals. Like I think time has passed for Dzingel. Danton Heinen to Boston. This might have been the most surprised I was to see a guy on a PTO. He had a lot of strong seasons and only really fell off last year. I think it's a slam dunk, yes.
And was he not at his best in Boston?
Yeah, almost for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't work. I mean, different coaching staff. So hard to say. I lean towards yes.
Zach Cassian to Anaheim.
Yeah, totally. Love it.
I think yes as well.
Works.
I think the fit is there. I don't know how much faith I have in Cassian elevating himself to the level required to make the team. But I think even if he doesn't end up like consistently in the top 12, I do think he makes it out of camp and then will sign a 1-year contract. Jordy Ben to Dallas. This is an interesting one.
Yes. Yeah, there's familiarity there. I think as like a 7th D, maybe 6th guy.
I don't think he cracks it personally.
I think like I don't want Thomas Harley and Niels Lundqvist playing together, but I want both of them in the like bottom four, like the second and third pair. So
Yeah.
I think like him and Niels Lundqvist kind of works. If they can get chemistry in camp, then he makes it.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Colorado with Yoel Kiviranta, who familiar.
No, get him far away. I don't want him anywhere near us. No, make him go away. I don't like it.
I
I
don't think
don't
he has.
honestly, sure, yeah, it does fit. I'm just scarred.
Yeah, he's had a tough couple years. I think he could fit as the 12/13, but I do think for sure that
He's Finnish, right?
yeah, he needs to perform for sure in camp.
But Mikko Rantanen makes other people from Finland very happy on that team. Like Arturi Lehkonen is so at home.
Sam Gagne to Edmonton's the last one I have on this list.
Totally.
I
You
love
bring
it.
back the guy who put up 8 points for sure, Z's 100%.
I
And
like
honestly,
well.
if you've listened to any interviews with Sam Gagne, He is a great dude.
Yeah, it seems like it. I remember when he was in Vancouver getting that impression. Real quick, so I should have done this at the beginning. I always kind of forget that um there is an element of our listener base that might not instinctively know what a PTO is. Um, a PTO is a professional tryout agreement, which means that the player comes to training camp and they play in the preseason. And then at the end of the preseason, the team has the option of whether or not they want to sign them to a contract. So it is just basically a provisional contract contingent on you making the team in that tryout. So PTO, for instance, none of these teams have signed these players. It's just these players will all play for these teams during preseason. And then, you usually see half of them sign, half of them not, right? So we'll move on to junior. Bob McKenzie's first rankings came out, and him and I see things the same way in terms of the top three in the draft, because I had been correcting people who had said to me that there's a top two this year with Celebrini and Cole Eiserman, and saying no, Ivan Demidov, the Russian guy, is going to work himself into that conversation. And it's happened pretty early. So Bob McKenzie's rankings and his interviews on TSN about it, he has called this draft a big three. Macklin Celebrini, the Canadian playing at Boston University, Cole Eiserman, the American winger playing in the National Development Team program, will play for the U18 team this year, and Ivan Demidov, who's playing right now in the MHL. We'll see if he ends up playing in the KHL. That's always a complicated, it's always more complicated than it should be in Russia to play in that first league. Yeah. So again, for me, it's just an interesting thing to see. So between 2000 and 2021, we only saw one single draft where none of the top three players played in the CHL. That was in 2000, when Rick DiPietro and Danny Heatley were drafted out of the NCAA, and Marian Gabrick was drafted out of the professional league in Slovakia. In the last two drafts, if we're counting this one, these three drafts, 2022, 2023, and 2024, we are now, again, provided this top three ends up being the top three, which so far it looks like that's going to happen, we will now have seen it twice. In 2022, we saw Juraj Slajkovský, Simo Nemec, and Logan Cooley go. Slajkovský and Nemec were playing professional in Europe, whereas Logan Cooley was with the national team development program. And this year, you have one player playing in the NCAA, Macklin Celebrini, one player who is committed to playing in the NCAA, right now playing in the USHL and the national team development program in Eiserman, and then the Russian pro Demidov. So James, like we've talked a lot about the tier 2 to NCAA route when we talk about junior, and as much as in you do have the European professional aspect of this, the fact that we're not seeing CHL guys slam dunk at the top of these drafts, like Connor Bedard was the only one in the top three last year, right? Fantilli and Carlson both weren't, and you kind of look at this draft rankings, you're going to have, to me, there's only two guys in the CHL that are slam dunk top 10 picks. That's Berkeley Catton out of the Spokane Chiefs, the forward, and Sam Dickinson out of the London Knights, the defenseman. Otherwise, it's a lot of European pros, to be fair, and you have a couple of the national development team kids that are going to work their way up, like Lane Hudson's younger brother is going to be there. But yeah, so again, it's an interesting trend to examine.
One I want to say to keep an eye on is Bob's ranked number 14, Zane Parekh. I've watched a couple of highlight videos. This guy's absolutely filthy, defenseman for the Saginaw Spirit. Last year he put up 21 goals and 37 assists in 50 games for Saginaw. And no doubt he will continue running the show offensively for that squad. I'm not too familiar with the rest of the roster, but you see a defenseman produce extremely well offensively. They are no doubt one to watch to rise. Also, Aaron Kiviharju. That is a Finnish defenseman. He's only 5'9", but like all world offensive instincts per scouting reports. There are quite a few defensemen in this draft as you get like 2 in around 10. Like, I mean, you're looking at this. Number 4, Artyom Levjunov, Michigan State. Number 5, Sam Dickinson, London Knights. You got number 8 Adam Juracek in Czechia. You've got Anton Silyev, Nizhny Novgorod, Russia.
Done.
Aaron Viharu, in Finland. And then you go out, Carter Yakemchuk, Calgary, ranked 13. Zane Parekh, 14, Saginaw. That's and then Henry Muse, Ottawa 67s, ranked number 16. So you could easily have the top 15 in this draft be half defensemen. And looking around the league, a lot of the teams that are going to be picking in that 5 to 15 rank, you're going to see a lot of guys that need defensemen. So this could be the year of the defenseman again.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. You got David Juracek's younger brother in there. That was Adam. You're talking about the Saginaw Spirit. There's going to be guys on that team because 2025 top prospect currently ranked to go first overall next year. Michael Misa is on Saginaw, so we'll see. We'll see a lot of the Spirit in the headlines just because Misa is going to get a lot of eyes. He was an exceptional status player, and by every indication, it looks like he's going to be another stud coming up next year. By the way, great little stretch here for Canadian hockey, right? Like we saw between McDavid and Lafreniere, yeah, like there were guys, right? Obviously, there were Canadians at the top of the draft, but Nolan Patrick didn't work out, and Cale Makar worked out big time, but even at the time, he wasn't super highly touted. But we've got, Shane Wright was supposed to be first overall in 2022, didn't end up happening. But then Bedard this year's supposed to be Celebrini, next year's supposed to be Misa, and the year after, Gavin McKenna looks like a beast. Gavin McKenna looks like he might be the best of that bunch other than Bedard. So we'll obviously keep an eye on it. And me being the person I am, I'll I'll keep a pretty close eye on it. I have in my calendar on my laptop already, James, like when different draft eligible prospects come through Red Deer for me to go do a little scouting report. So that will continue into season 2 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. Yeah, so I think we can wrap up the junior. That was all I kind of wanted to touch on. Do we go somewhere from here, buddy, or do we
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a short window of time. I think Aiden, you've brought 3 players to the table for fantasy that are sleepers, and I've brought 3 that are ones I think are ranked too high and you might want to stay away from.
Okay.
You want to go one and then I'll go one?
Sure. First one, Tommy Novak of the Nashville Predators. He was very sneakily good last year. Like you didn't really hear much about him, but in Nashville, 43 points in 51 games. And he was kind of in and out of the lineup. And then even in the AHL, he had 26 points in 25 games when he played. He's probably going to have an elevated role, top 6. Again, we talk about tier 2 to NCAA, that late bloomer effect. He was playing in the USHL in his draft year, didn't get drafted. 4 years at the University of Minnesota, pro contract from Nashville, plays a few years in the AHL, and all of a sudden he looks like a player at 26. So I think if you have a deep draft and you're looking for a guy to fill out maybe your 9th forward spot, Tommy Novak's that guy. He could very sneakily put up 60 points this year.
Quick thing that I just remembered that I planned last night, and I'm going to tell Aiden right now. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with our sleepers and busts on socials over the weekend, as I'm very in fantasy mode, and I'm having my keeper league draft party at my apartment on tomorrow on Saturday. Yeah, you'll see a little bit of fun on our social stories, based around these 3 sleepers and busts. So my number 1 bust, Linus Ullmark. This guy is a top 3, top 5 ranked goalie on every fantasy chart. I'm sorry, dude, it's not going to happen. Jeremy Swayman's going to get a fair bit of starts as he did last year. Ullmark will have probably a little bit more time as Swayman seemingly consistently gets light injuries and stuff like that. But dude, there's no way Ullmark's save percentage is that high again. His goals against is that high again. But most importantly of all, when he comes to fantasy, he's not going to have that crazy win-loss ratio. And with only that many starts, like I don't see him starting more than 50 games. Like that's not going to happen. I don't even rank him in my like top 8 goalies. Like he's maybe like a 9 or 10.
I completely can see where you're coming from, especially because like with Boston, there's again, like I know we just won the Vezina, but listen, there's always the element that a week could go by and Jeremy Swayman could be the starter. Swayman's very good, right? Like, and it's nothing against Ullmark. It's just that the 1A, 1B factor is very, very heavily at play there. And for a lot of teams, 1A, 1B is, oh, we're going to swap him out when one's struggling. 1A, 1B in Boston is, well, if Swayman has back-to-back really, really strong starts, he could be the starter for the next 3 weeks. And then Ullmark plays one every third game, right? Like, so I completely agree with that. I'll jump to my next sleeper, and this is a guy who has had a really, really, really hard last 3 years. Jakub Vrana. He's in St. Louis now. He seems in the last 20 games the last season after he went to St. Louis, he was scoring at a 41 goal pace over 82 games. He's 10-20. I really, really think if this is a fit, this guy could hit, right? He scores at a very, very good clip when he's healthy. He had to, I believe, enter the player assistance program in the last couple of years. So you have that element of it, but he's also in a contract year, right? So you have that as well. Players often elevate their game when they're in contract years, when they're playing for that money. And for Jakub Vrana, it's been a tumultuous last few years. So I don't know how high he's going to be on draft boards, but if you're at the end of your fantasy draft and you got another forward spot open, you want to roll the dice on Jakub Vrana.
Totally. And my next I mean, I don't want to say bust, but expect a lack of production in my eyes. And it's really hard to say this because super talented player, but Lucas Raymond is not going to bounce back as a close to point per game player. The like bringing like an elite player that he'd be projected to by this season, because the Red Wings brought in Alex DeBrincat. Alex DeBrincat is going to be a fixture on the Red Wings power play. And yes, he will undoubtedly be the Alex DeBrincat we've seen over, I mean, probably the last 6 years in fantasy, where he's a very, very solid scoring option, fills in power play roles, especially on leagues that value special teams a lot. Lucas Raymond is not going to get the same sweet spot. He is not going to be one of the most relied on wingers on that team when it comes to filling the net on the power play. And you look at the way Detroit was doing their power play last year, they'll randomly throw in guys like, who is that gigantic winger, the Swedish guy?
Elmer Soderblom.
Okay, he'll randomly pop in on the power play. They'll throw in that Berggren guy. Like they just do that. And the mixture of that and the DeBrincat factor, I say stay far away from Lucas Raymond. I mean, dynasty format, sure, but like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right.
So I had a lot of options for my number 3. I'm going to go Columbus Blue Jackets winger Kirill Marchenko. So again, Andrei Kuzmenko, 39 goals coming in as the Russian free agent. He wasn't the only Russian free agent to come in. Kirill Marchenko started the year with the Cleveland Monsters, 16 games, scored 19 points. With the Columbus Blue Jackets, only played 59 games, only had 25 points, but 21 of those 25 points were goals. And with the Columbus Blue Jackets, I think that team takes a step forward this year. You're going to see Adam Fantilli work his way into that top 6. Columbus looks like they're going to be able to construct 3 lines, James. 3 lines that can score. And if they are, I think Kirill Marchenko is going to be a big part of one of those 3 lines. He'll get power play time, whether it's on the first or the second unit. And yeah, I don't think he's going to be a 30-goal guy, but I think he could very, very easily go 25 goals, 45 points this year. And, obviously, if you're kind of in a small league where you're only maybe picking 60 guys in your whole league, yeah, don't take Kirill Marchenko. But if you're in a deep league, this could be a guy late in the draft that's still going to be there because half the league is going to know this guy exists.
I should keep in mind when I'm talking fantasy, I'm primarily talking about deeper leagues. Just for context, my league is 15 teams deep in 23-man rosters, and it's a keeper league with 12 keepers. So it's very deep. It's a lot. It's a commitment. My next bust, expect some significant regression in my eyes from Mike Matheson, who put up 34 points in 48 games for the Montreal Canadiens. They're going to have guys like Caden Gooley, Justin Barron, who knows who else stepping in and taking special teams time from this guy. And not just special teams time. Offensive zone starts with the team's top forwards. And like as you get guys like Cole Caulfield a little more healthy, as you get Slavkovsky stepping up, as Alex Newhook takes on an offensive role at the team, it's going to be these young guys who need to grow with these players. Mike Matheson is 29. Yes, he's not old, but when you're building this young core, you want these young guys to grow together. And I don't think Martin St. Louis is going to forget about that. I mean, yes, rely on your good guys. You want to win games for sure. Mike Matheson is no slouch. He's a really solid defenseman. He's kind of been on and off throughout his career, but last year feels like the anomaly. 34 points in 48 games, when previously his career high was 31 and 74. Like, I don't see it. Yes, he'll probably munch a lot of minutes, but I don't see that really solid fantasy production. And yes, Cole, my best friend, I know you're listening. And I mean, if you still listen, my good friend Cole, he thinks Mike Matheson is an incredibly valuable defenseman in fantasy. And I don't see it, bro. I don't see it.
I am not in any way, shape, or form a fan of Mike Matheson, so I'm gonna strongly corroborate
Oh,
every.
when Mikey picked up Pedersen and put him down.
Listen, I know Pedersen just had a 100-point season. Um, Without that concussion, that 100-point season comes in year one. That Pedersen was on an 82 goal pace before that happened. He had 10 goals in 10 games to start, and then Matheson threw him into the into the third row because Pedersen dangled him. So
Because he picks things up and puts them down.
yeah. Anyways, uh, moving on to we have 3 questions. So let's do 3 questions.
Let's hear it. What do we got?
In an attempt to grow hockey worldwide, if you had to start your own hockey league in another country, not North America or Europe, and become a successful league, what country would you choose and why? This is a very, very complicated question.
Extremely.
You have to factor in like a lot of factors.
Totally.
So I'm gonna try and answer this without that. Like I'm not gonna try and think too deeply about it. I am going to go and say Brazil because the thing that I'm not going to factor in the logistics of the costs of hockey because ice and equipment and everything to do with it is expensive.
We're not factoring that in.
If you could just put a fully supplied hockey infrastructure throughout a country, I'm going to go Brazil. Brazilian people are as sport obsessed as anybody in the world. You can see that like if you've ever been to Brazil, or really this is widespread, but the prevalence of just every single day, everywhere you turn, there's kids with a soccer ball, right? There's kids with a basketball. It doesn't happen the same way here. You know, you drive by a park, there's maybe a couple kids playing soccer in a big open field. I just had buddies here visiting and we had a free Sunday. We went to play soccer and there was 6 soccer fields on a weekend. That was pretty nice weather. We were the only ones there, right? Like it just doesn't happen in North America as much. So I would pick a very sport obsessed country. And I think Brazil's a good one. I was kind of thinking different European countries that aren't as into hockey, but it did say not North America or Europe. So that's mine. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to take us back to a story from October 2018, shared by Tim Hortons. That was when a hockey team from Nairobi, Kenya, came to Canada, and Sidney Crosby skated with them. It was one hell of a video. I believe it's still on YouTube. I recommend anyone who hasn't seen it goes and watches. Great flick. I think it's like 15, 20 minutes long, something like that. There's probably a short version and a full version. Dude, people from Africa are always great competitors in sport. You look back at all of these stories, and I mean, yes, there are a lot of things going on in a lot of different parts of Africa for sure. And I'm not going to get into the politics of a lot of things at all because I don't do politics. It's not really my thing. I don't consider myself to be a political genius. But you go back and you watch this video, which I haven't seen in years. It just dawned on me as soon as you saw this question. I had zero prep for this question whatsoever, which is my preferred way to go at it. I kind of like being put on the spot because it asks my brain to do things like this. And yeah, this team from Nairobi, Kenya came, the Ice Lions, and they got to go out and skate with Sid. They played a little exhibition game, and Nathan McKinnon went and skated with them. And their captain said, "It is a dream to not only have the chance to play in Canada, but to play for the first time in full gear alongside 2 of the greatest players of the game. When we first started playing in Kenya, we didn't even have full equipment. But now not only do we have that, we can say we've played a real game with some all-star teammates." and like that gives you some chills. Like that gave me a couple little tingles. And like we want hockey to be for everyone, and such a non-traditional hockey place where I believe I read in that article and saw in that video years ago that they had one rink and they didn't have gear. And like just to show like people from such a non-traditional hockey market have so much love for the game. That's the kind of place you want to see it expanded and have so many more people fall in love with it. Yes, hockey is an incredibly expensive sport, but they didn't have gear and they just got out there and had a good time, and that's what you want to hear. That's exactly where you want to see it. And when you say start a league, yeah, you started grassroots. You get some kids able to play. You send some gear over. Love to see it.
So another submission from Braden Yu. He submitted Braden Yu as if we didn't know who he was. I don't know if that's why. I don't know if he wanted us to read it like that.
Is
Braden,
that one of your boys?
yeah, Braden's our friend from BCIT who just got married. So let's congratulate Braden on his wedding.
Oh, Braden Yu. Oh, Braden Ursel.
Yeah.
I was thinking Braden YEW. Dude,
No.
congrats on the marriage, Braden. And did he not look slick in that suit?
Yeah, absolutely did.
Dude
Yeah.
was dripped up. Oh, I hope you're listening, Braden. I'm so proud of you, buddy. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I remember I went to see him in the summer for a bit in Kelowna and just talking about the wedding. Yeah, no, I'm so happy for the guy. I don't know if that cut it off because it looked like he just submitted Braden Yu. I'm looking now at the submission on Instagram. It might have just cut it off. Maybe he put Braden Ursel, but I didn't know. Usually nobody submits their name, so I just pointed it out that he did.
Well, hey, he's a professional. He's
yeah,
a journalist.
he is. Braden asked if the Canucks made the right choice to make Quinn Hughes captain. Again, we're not in that room. Every indication points to yes. I would have said the same thing if it was Pettersson, though. That's what I'll say.
Totally. I've got no reasons to think otherwise. But yeah, I think one of the big things about having a building team full of young guys going forward is I think choosing a young leader is a huge deal. And I look back to a lot of teams on the come up, and having that young guy as the voice in the room, whereas like I know you don't like him as much, but I'm a huge JT Miller fan and I like chaos, and I think it would have been sweet having him have the voice. But like, yeah, totally.
Obviously, he'll still have a voice, right? Like,
oh yeah, that's the kind of guy he is, and that's why I like him.
yeah. Last question, James: is a hot dog a sandwich? Yes or no?
Dude, who asked this question?
A frequent listener and submitter. So we're not gonna.
You went into this with your Blackfalds Bulldogs last year, did you not?
Yes, it was like this. I think this was the most like hotly debated one. Like we were sitting on the bench during practice, me and a couple players, like still debating it. Again, for those of you who don't know, one of the media things we do with the Bulldogs, you'd see it in NHL teams too. As they're going on the ice for practice, I'll be standing there with a microphone. I'll ask them a question and they'll answer it on their way by. This one got like it. We asked our boneless wings just chicken nuggets as well. And I think those two were like the most hotly contested ones where like guys were waiting around to hear other guys' answers and then they would argue about it.
Okay, what's your answer?
I think yes, just because you can't tell me why it's not. Like I don't have a really strong opinion on it, but like it's bread and something in the middle, right? To me, that's a hot dog.
Okay, but it's not something in the middle. It's folded bread.
Yeah,
so
but
is a quesadilla a sandwich?
Well, the parallel I drew because I was part of this stupid debate with the team last year.
No, it's not stupid. These are important life questions.
The parallel I drew was how different is a hot dog from a Subway sandwich, right? Where it's like it's still one piece of bread that's
okay. Yeah, fair. So my point feels irrelevant now.
Yeah, so my thing was, okay, if you're comfortable calling like a Subway sandwich a sandwich, then I have no problem calling a hot dog a sandwich because that was one of the counterpoints was, oh, but it needs to be two pieces of bread. And then I think I made the Subway point. Anyways, I'm saying yes. Just
okay. Take it to the boys again. Take it to the team and ask if a taco is a sandwich.
I don't remotely want to get into this with them again. Like it was funny.
I want you to do it. This is a request. And no, it's not a Mike Babcock demand.
Well, speaking of the Bulldogs,
Oh wait, I didn't answer.
yeah, go.
Uh, um, kind of political view at it, like being very, very careful with the answer. It's sandwich adjacent. But if you're really breaking it down to the finer points, yes, it is a form of sandwich.
Yeah, I respect that. Speaking of the Bulldogs, if anybody cares, you're hearing if you if you're listening to this as it came out, it's September 16th. Which means I am at the Eagle Builder Center in Black Falls preparing for their home opener. So I'll on our Instagram story, I'll throw up the radio broadcast link. Tune in. I'm gonna have play by play with Mike Moeller, who was on this show. If you didn't hear the Moeller interview
Love
from
that guy.
last
Cool,
fall,
cool.
yeah, tune in. So him and I'll have the call. Drayton Valley Thunder in town to take on the Bulldogs in their home opener for 23-24. This is the part of the job I actually enjoy is the being at the rink. So I'm excited for it. And yeah, so that's a good spot to leave it off. Unless we didn't do movies. We said a
We
movie.
got it. We gotta do movies. What do you watch recently?
Christopher Nolan's Memento for the first time. 8 out of 10. Strong 8 out of 10. Liked it a lot.
Okay, I actually also have a Chris Nolan, which I've been ostracized for not watching by now. I watched Dunkirk for the first time last night.
Would you?
And okay, it was the problem for me going in. This is the only problem is that well, okay, there's maybe two, maybe two. Um, it was hyped up as maybe one of his top three best movies to me. It is not that. His catalog is too deep. It is not one of his top three in my eyes. It is an incredible movie, and but my one other issue is the way the pacing works with the timelines. It doesn't give you that satisfying moment of them connecting until so late in the movie. It kind of like it it leaves you kind of like, oh, okay, I'm trying to connect the dots. Okay, this plane's flying by. Okay, that guy goes down. Okay, 20 minutes later, we have the thing of that boat picking him up, and then we see that dogfight going on. And so the pacing kind of throws you off a little bit, and that's super Chris Nolan style. If you've seen Inception, you're supposed to be mind bended.
I love his obsession with time. I love it.
Yeah, it's
I think
awesome.
it's just it's such a cool thing to just for him to be that invested in his movies. Like I do love it. It's funny we both had Nolan movies. I haven't seen Dunkirk, and again,
I I strongly encourage you to watch it, but do not think of it as potentially his best movie before going in.
well, me personally, I and again, it's for no other reason than I just it really just makes me sad. I'm not a huge fan of battlefield movies. I really
It's
like
not a Battlefield movie.
okay, I really like war movies in terms of the seeing what's happening to citizens and just the implications of war and stuff like that. And that obviously is pulls at your heartstrings too.
This
Um,
is more so implications of war, but soldiers.
yeah, yeah. Um, like Saving Private Ryan was my first battlefield movie, and I liked it. It made me feel so
That's
upset.
a lot. I've actually never watched it. It's on my I have this my really good friend and I we meet up once a week to watch really good movies.
Yeah.
And we were discussing last night how few World War II movies, World War One movies we've actually watched. I've never seen Hacksaw Ridge. I've never seen Saving Private Ryan, and I've never seen War Horse. And like those are all pretty big movies. Like those are very highly touted films, and I no doubt will watch them at some point. But also like 1917 is my favorite war movie. You're not going to beat it. I'm sorry, it's not possible. Dunkirk was a phenomenal movie, and the way it ties itself together and the way it makes you feel for the characters by the end of it, there's no slouch to it, and also it gives you perspective on an earlier part of World War II, a part where hope was a little bit lost. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I give it this is hard, like a 7-2. And keep in mind, in the way I rate things, there's no such thing as a 10. A 10 is unachievable perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. I don't think I've ever even rated the best movies I've seen like a 9.9. Like that's not what I do. That's not how I look at things. I do it the same way with food and music, like that's not how I look at things. Perfection is unattainable and we're human. But next on my list is Insomnia by Chris Nolan, which was just thrown on Netflix, with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. And believe it or not, part of it was actually filmed near Port Alberni, BC,
Interesting.
near my hometown. And in one of my family's favorite brunch restaurants growing up, there is a photo of Robin Williams because he stopped there to have some fisherman's bread and an eggs Benny.
Interesting.
And, but yeah, I mean, unless you have anything else, Aiden, I think we leave it at that.
I think we do. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Obviously, we will get to the once a week. And yeah,
Indeed, like with the season rolling in, that's what's happening.
for sure. And what I'll again, as soon as the WHL regular season starts, I'll be up in that press box. I've got an AGHL media pass. I've got a WHL media pass this year, so I'll be I'll be able to reliably always be at something to watch some prospect, and I'll take my notes. I'll bring the reports, and we'll move forward with that as well. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and yeah, have a great Saturday night.
Beautiful. Love to hear it. Have yourself a weekend, fellas. And yeah, keep an eye on socials. We're gonna start playing around with that. I will actually start playing around with that. Aiden has been significantly more useful in that market. But yeah, I'm gonna play around with it a little bit and I'm gonna have some fun with it. So keep an eye out for some mild goofiness. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. For what listeners we do have. Without further ado, let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.